Hey guys, Filthy Robot here, back with the Arumba to continue our Civ 5 playthrough. So we have some pretty cool decision points going to be making. I expect a lot of talking in this video. I'm going to say we're going to have a lot of decisions. So
it looks to me like we still need to escort one more move with the Spearman.
Yes.
Because otherwise, if they spawn there, they could move onto that and take the worker.
That's absolutely correct.
Okay, so we'll go like that. And then this this scout here is going to go and check for a worker?
Yeah, exactly. And they probably, yeah. So we want to head down that way.
Ooh,
okay, Barpandax.
Would we want to kill that for experience? We would take very little damage. Or no. Whoa, it says, wow, we would take a lot of damage. Why would we take so much damage?
Because the hand axe is a monster.
But he's got like 5 health.
Yeah, but it's
4
not
HP.
Scale. So at 1 HP, he does 50% damage.
What?
Yeah. So
what? No. In Civ 6, it's a direct correlation. If you have 20% health, you have like 20% damage.
That's interesting.
Why do they do so much?
Because that's the number at 1 HP. So the absolute lowest hit point value, your unit does 50% damage, and it scales from there.
So what about at 50? You have half health. You do 75%.
I assume 75. Yeah.
Okay, so that actually, in my mind, then reduces the value of the Japanese samurai unit. I think it is that has like full damage.
It's the Japanese unique ability entirely. All their units do full damage regardless of their hit points. But yes, it does reduce that value. I
had assumed the last time I played Civ 5 that it did scale linearly, and that would actually inflate the value of the Japanese ability. But I had no idea. Why isn't? Is that in the? That's not in the Civlopedia. It can't possibly be.
I don't actually know if it's in there or not.
Damage. Combat damage. I'm not going to spend all time looking through it, but I doubt it's in there. That's just one of those things that you have to just like know the answer to, don't you?
Yeah, you have to have looked it up at some point.
Do you prefer to take the hill or just move in, bust some more fog faster?
Yeah, I want to go just south faster. So one tile at a time. Yep. Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Cool.
Trust me.
What did we just see? We just saw a river around that wonder that makes it a lot more settleable. That's awesome. Well, now all we need to do is find a Lux down there, and we'll be in really good shape. We could settle flatland and buy the sugar 3 tiles out, but already our gold is not in good shape. We need to get gold up as soon as we can. So.
Okay. Yeah. Trust me, I'll never move more than 1 tile at a time ever, unless you tell me to start doing it. So.
Awesome.
You can have faith, literal faith. Oh hey, we still have no faith, but like you said, we can adopt a policy here.
Oh, right where we want to friggin' settle. That's annoying. Okay. Well,
literally on the spell. Jeez. I had a question for you that came up. Okay, so this desert is kind of useless, right? Because there's like no production here. But if we settle there, we would get 3-1, or would it still be just 2-1? You said that settle is
3-1 in the mod. Yeah.
So we could turn a useless tile into a fairly okay-ish tile, not as good as being settled on a hill, making it 3-2, or sorry, 2-2. It was what it would be. But like, what if in theory, this came up toward the end of the last episode about settling, right? I was thinking, well, what if we settled like on that hill and then also settled like over here? So we would have access to both, but it's 2 cities instead of 1.
There's so many interlocking portions of that decision that we need to talk about before I could answer that. I love the idea of making dead tiles into useful tiles. That's nice. And actually, oases do provide fresh water, so we can build gardens in those cities if we want.
Yeah, and these aren't too bad, and we've got some
oasis tiles
little bit
are
of production.
Quite decent to start with. Yeah. It's okay. It's not a very defensive city for lots of reasons, so we can talk about when we started thinking about that. And that is going to be a blocker city. So you've probably heard me mention that before, and I don't know that I've ever explained that, so maybe I'll explain that for a second. Oftentimes when you do war, especially versus players, when you're playing multiplayer, citadels steal land for wars, and you don't really want your capital, which is your center of production. There's lots of bonuses. There's lots of benefits to having a centralized production in one city for things like experience, promotions, things like wonders, etc. You don't really want your centralized production tiles being vulnerable to being stolen from citadel wars. You tend to want to settle a city towards an opponent to block them. That's going to be the city where the wars are going to occur. That when they do occur, they go through that city first. And the blocker city tends to be settled more for a defensive orientation than other cities need to be. If you have a city in the middle of your empire, you don't really care how defensive it is, because another city has to have fallen before that city becomes under attack. But when you settle a blocker city, you want to be clear on what the purpose of that city is. So yeah, that city on the over by the oasis it's settled. So cities get a bonus, defensive bonus, both in combat strength and I believe damage, but certainly units get the damage defense for being on that. I'm not entirely sure about that, but yeah, that number is going to change based on settling on a hill or not.
Yeah, so, I do know that you get like the 25% that a unit would get. I think what just multiplies in with the base strength of the city, which is probably we're probably 12.5 strength, rounding down to 12.
Yeah.
Or yeah, it doesn't give a summary of how it came to that number.
There's a lot of things. Palace gives a bonus, so the capital is always going to be stronger than a non-capital city. Population matters, and I believe era matters. So
Oh, okay, so defense plus 2.5. Are we not at oh, that's right, we didn't settle on a hill on this one.
Correct. It's a
So
spot.
yeah, so that's probably why we are at 10 plus 2.5 rounded down to 12. Or it might not be 10
Where are you
base.
getting 10? No, it's
I don't
not
know.
10 base.
I
Definitely not 10 base.
just sort of assumed that 10 would be a good number for a starting city. I mean, it's you know, it's 10.
Okay,
Think
so
about
let's make some moves.
Okay,
Let's open social policies because we have a conversation there.
Well,
We just had a conversation about city placement, but let's talk social policy because that's kind of important.
No, we can't, because the last episode or 2 episodes ago, you told me the proper filthy product like way of processing a turn is units, then other stuff. So
Okay.
now you're changing it on me. I'm getting confused.
I can live with that. If you want to make moves first, let's make this one last because it matters what we're doing here. We have to make a decision before we move that worker.
Okay. So this guy doesn't need to escort anymore. Where would you send him instead? Well, first off, I want to find out if there's a worker available, and we want to move to this tile because it's the hidden tile from him.
Yep.
And there's nothing yet. Okay.
But that's good time. That means we didn't waste our spearman stuff at all, which is great. So
Okay.
we didn't lose a worker from that.
So what's the spearman's new task? What's his life? What's
his life is now, we're going to actually be building tile improvements. His life is now guarding, because there is a barb camp right over there. It will spawn barbs towards us. He needs to be preventing barbarians from pillaging our tiles or blocking tiles that we want to work while we're building settlers. So he is now on home defense.
Okay, so tiles we want to work while we are building settlers. That immediately makes me look at like the copper, the iron. Probably this copper is the most exposed, so I'm thinking there. Maybe the gold way over there, but he can't be in both places at once, so how do you choose?
Okay, we're talking the worker or the spearman here?
The spearman for defense duty.
Barb management is much more about blocking in Civ 5 than it is killing them. So we don't care when we start working settlers here. We're not going to be touching that bison tile. So that hill, the sheep, is a really good spot for the spearman, at least to heal up a turn or two. That's the direction the barbs are going to be coming from, and it is the gateway to all the tiles we do care about. So that's the worker. We need 2 things when we have 2 priorities right now for this worker, in my opinion, if we're going to go straight settlers at pop 4.
Nice. Look at the timing on this. So here's what I'm thinking. Let me just voice it and see if I'm right. We're going to want to work production tiles. If we build this, if we hover here, we can see, oh shoot, that's going to give us food. We don't want food. Damn, I was thinking that the upgraded pasture is going to give us production, but that's with horses. And why is it changed, by the way? Why is like, with cattle you get +1 production. With sheep, apparently you get +1 food. With horses, you get +1 production. Why is it different?
I don't know. And it's Civ 6 sheep are +1 production, right?
I don't remember now. I'm getting the games all mixed up. Okay, well, I was thinking it was +1 production, so that'd be the optimal location to improve. But now I'm thinking it's probably the mine on the iron, because that's guaranteed to be production.
Well, this is the decision I'm making internally right now. We're thinking about making is similar to that. It's, do we care about the luxury more, or do we care about the gold we're going to get from selling iron more? The improvement is equal in value. It's 1 hammer to either of them, and the number of turns it takes to get to either of those tiles is also equal in value. So it's a matter of how soon do we need to settle for happiness, because we have to get a luxury online before we settle. And how I think honestly it's iron. I think it goes iron into copper here. And the thought process being, the sooner we get iron on, the sooner we can start selling it to AIs, the sooner we get the gold income from that, which is really important.
Okay. Here, I have a question for you. Looking at this enhanced user interface, I should just stop saying that, right? I have too many questions for you.
EUI. No,
so,
you can ask questions, but...
So I'm just saying, like, I say it like every 2 seconds, basically. So looking at the EUI, some of these are blue, which I'm interpreting this to mean science. Some are white, which is probably religious, and then the purple ones are social policies then? It's not telling you have these things.
These are the potential improvements that tile can ever get.
Okay, is there any indication for the ones you actually have online?
I think they go away. So we don't have any improved tiles. When we improve a tile, we can look at that and see. Okay. I don't know.
All right. Well, anyway, we decided on the iron, yes?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we're going to get a second worker from him, and he'll hopefully be able to make it back for the copper.
That'd be fantastic. We got a second worker here.
And
social policy.
Well, very briefly before, I know this is the big thing, right? This is the sole episode. This is going to be what we do for the rest of the episode. So the one last thing then is I just want to mention briefly that workers are totally different in Civ 5, right? So
yes.
There's 2 buttons available, right? There's the toggle auto build, which I don't even see. But number 1, you have said, and I already believe, without you having said it, never ever use that button, right? It's complete trash.
Yeah.
AI's bad. Don't let them do it. You called it a noob trap.
It is, and that is not a knocking of newer players, but it is something that a newer player would often use, right? Because he doesn't really know what he wants to do with this worker. He's like, well, I'll just let the AI make the decisions. It's one less thing I have to worry about as I'm learning the game. I'll automate this worker. Don't do it. It's a noob trap. It is actually something that's going to set you back relative to your goal. Your goal is to make something simpler for yourself that's going to help you out. It's not going to do that.
Same thing with auto explore, right? Never do that.
Yeah, I don't. There are maybe times to do auto explore, but they're few and far between.
Okay. So anyway, so workers are different. Don't do auto build, and instead of consuming charges, they don't have charges, right? They live forever. They cost maintenance. They don't cost maintenance in Civ 6. And how do you determine how many turns it's going to take to do a tile improvement here?
You memorize it.
No, EY tells you the answers, right? Please. I don't want to memorize anything.
Well, I don't think you can mouse over like that, but once you start it, it will tell you. You'll get a number once you actually start the improvement.
Here's my minor complaint for this episode. When you open up the Civilopedia in Civ 6, it automatically has this text field cleared. Why is it not cleared after you search for something?
I was quite clear on this, and I wish to reiterate this perhaps for our viewers. I refuse to be an apologist for this game, so any mistakes in there are solely the property of 2K Games and Firaxis, so not me.
no indicator on here whatsoever for how many turns it'll take to build a mine.
And it scales based on game speed, so it's different on game speed too.
Okay, all right. Well, fine. Let's go ahead and do the. Okay, this is a big page. What do we got?
This is a big page. What do we got? All right.
Let's hide these things. Let's just talk about these, right?
Okay. At the moment, those other policies are policies unlock on eras. We're in the ancient era still, so we can't touch any of the classical era text. We don't have to make a decision for this. This is our opening policy tree decision, and this is the biggest decision you're going to make in the game. Well,
great.
Early game.
So if I make the wrong decision, we're going to lose. Gotcha.
Yes. Well,
yes. Hey, you did say yes. Is this important? This decision playing against DDAI? This first opening policy?
You're not going to instantly lose based on this, but it's going to impact how difficult your early game is going to be. So we have 4 options here. In the mod, this is one of the express goals of the mod is to give more options. In vanilla, really you have the option between tradition and liberty, with tradition being better something like 97 or 98% of the time.
Wow.
So in vanilla, you go tradition. That is the most reasonable option to do.
Okay.
Okay.
And in this mod?
In this mod, piety, honor, liberty, and tradition are now roughly equal, with honor probably being a little bit weaker right now and also requiring a very different playstyle. With liberty perhaps being slightly stronger, although it gets a little bit of a nerf when playing against Deity because the AI doesn't like it when you expand a lot, and liberty requires quite a lot of expansions. And that leaves us piety, tradition, and liberty being, for this episode, for your first playthrough on Deity type style thing, I would avoid honor for this and choose between piety, tradition, and liberty.
Okay. Did we finish the what's it called in there? The
shrine.
Yeah. Okay. So adopting piety gives you 1 culture and 1 faith in the capital and allows you to build shrines and temples in half the usual time. So this would have been really nice to have before we started wait, no, we're building a monument. We haven't built we are building a shrine. Damn. So if we take that, does it retroactively reduce the cost?
It will. The remaining hammers will go down to finish it, but it won't give us double for the entire build.
Okay. My observation, by the way, was that again, I played before we actually started this recording session, and I did take piety, and it didn't show your production's 7, but it's actually 14 because of that policy, and it didn't show that the cost was, instead of being 40 hammers, it was 20. It did go faster, but there wasn't a clear indicator that I could find.
If you mouse over that production again, you'll see all the bonuses going towards it. So right now we have no bonuses towards this, so nothing else. But there will actually be a plus 50% underneath the 3 and the 4 to tell you that.
Okay, so if we take piety, it requires 7 more production, which would get doubled. So we would have the shrine next turn if we take piety.
Too short term. I see what you're attempting to do. You're attempting to make some sense of the situation we're in and applying it to the social policies we're picking. But the social policies in this game are so much more restricted than they are in Civ 6. It's not really the way you want to look at it. You want to look at this as a whole, these social policies as a whole, because for our opening policies, yes, you can splash where you do a little bit of some and a little bit of another, but almost always you're going to want to complete an entire social policy tree before going somewhere else, and there's a finishing bonus on all of these social policy trees, and the finisher bonus tends to be quite strong, and that requires you to fill out all of the policies in that tree to get that finisher bonus. So it says
right there, we would just get a free great profit and 4 production from the Grand Temple. Holy sites provide 1 food and 3 culture, but that's after taking what, six policies?
Yeah, let me see if I can outline kind of the strengths and weaknesses of these and the play styles that's going to come out of that. I'll try to do that relatively quickly. Okay. It's going to be glossing over a lot. I want to be very clear on that. We go super in depth in a lot of things, but to do this in any sort of summary way, we're going to gloss over some stuff. Okay. But here's roughly what's going to happen. Piety is a gold-oriented strategy in large part, using religion to address the fact that the policies themselves don't give you much growth or much production. So what it is based around is designing a very strong religion with a lot of options in the religion to make your empire do better. It doesn't have any bonuses towards early game settling or early game improvement, which means that it doesn't inherently have any early game benefits to going wide. There's no quick way to do that, although faith generation scales in a linear manner with more cities. So having more cities as piety can be good in terms of faith generation, although you're going to pay for that with the settler timing and worker timing stuff. Piety expands tend to be relatively poor compared to other expands because they have almost no bonuses towards anything, whereas the piety capital takes up a lot of the slack for what's going to happen. So you're going to have centralized capital that is the kind of workhorse of your empire. You're going to try to use faith for filling in the weaknesses that you're going to have from production and for food. Okay. For liberty, or we're going to skip honor because just
honor is for don't play against Deity. Gotcha.
Honor is for killing things, and you can do that. I've done honor games versus Deity. It is okay. They go on forever because it is about killing units. You get gold, culture, and science from killing units. It goes for a long time in capturing cities. We're not going to do that for this game. It could be something to explore later if you'd like. Liberty is about rapidly expanding. You get a discount to settler cost when you're building it. It's a one down from there, actually. If you want to mouse over, it's called Collective Rules, the bottom left one. There you go. In the cap, your settlers are going to produce faster. This is a production bonus in the capital, and you're going to get a free settler for picking that up as it is. You can spit out a lot of cities quite quickly with them, and you get bonuses You get bonuses to worker speed, you get an extra worker, you get bonuses to production in each city, although it's a small bonus to production, and you get bonuses for connecting your cities with city connections, both through happiness and through gold. And then you get bonuses when you finish the tree towards building all the infrastructure buildings that you're going to want to build in those cities. What it tends to be is the capital tends to be weaker than a piety capital or tradition capital. The expands tend to be better than piety expands, and they tend to be more numerous. You're going to have a very, very strong late game in terms of science if you can hold and maintain that land, because you're going to have a ton of population, which is going to drive all of your science for that. Ideally, we want something like 6 minimum, maybe 7 or 8 cities if we do Liberty, and it can be hard to find that room on Deity. Deity is going to get really mad at you when you start expanding. If you have 7 or 8 cities, you're gonna some of our basic standings are just going to get hosed from that. Everyone's going to be pissy about it, and we're going to have quite a lot of war throughout the ages for that. That's okay. We can deal with that. That's fine. But that is kind of what we're going to put ourselves into if we're doing Liberty. Okay. Tradition, 4 cities. That's what you do with tradition, especially prior to National College. You only ever want to go 3 to 4 cities. Later on, you can plant more cities, but you get huge bonuses to the first 4 cities you plant and huge bonuses to growth and tradition, as well as some wonder building. But your other cities are going to be slower and weaker compared to, for example, Liberty, but just also compared to your first 4 cities. The problem with tradition is your science is relatively capped out right now in the mod. Rationalism got a nerf, which used to be the go-to strategy is tradition rationalism for vanilla. Rationalism's been nerfed a couple of times.
Okay.
Rationalism, which
is we'll talk about that in another episode, though. It's too much on this one page.
Exactly.
Okay.
So what this tradition, it's easier to settle cities. They have inherent defensive bonuses that are part of tradition. You're only going to settle 3 cities in all likelihood. They're going to be a little bit wider space than Liberty cities or Piety cities, and you're basically banking on your capital doing a lot of work, but your other cities will eventually grow into pretty decent cities. As I said, the problem tends to be with your overall you peak lower than the other ones will peak in terms of the things they can do with hammers and science.
Okay, so you got free aqueduct. We've got free
monuments in our first cities. Free, or in this case, in our capital, we'll get a free amphitheater because we already have the monument. We'll get free aqueducts when we finish the tree. We'll get free walls for one of the policy trees. We'll get happiness that is disproportionately applied to our capital. So our capital's growth is half of it is free. It also gives us gold from that, and it gives us growth in the capital and wonder building. That's what you're getting out of tradition.
Okay, so quick summary then from my perspective based on everything you just said is building tall, 4 cities or fewer. Well, 4 cities strictly. Building wide, don't take it because it's not you're not going to win. And focus on faith.
Yes.
Roughly.
Yep.
With a whole lot more factors going into it. And now you did mention that you could take a little bit of tradition, a little bit of piety, but you probably shouldn't do that.
Yeah, it becomes much more complicated, and it's harder to get those bonuses, and the timing gets screwed up. A lot of the finisher bonuses are very, very good, so splashing had better give you a huge payoff for what's happening. The opportunity cost is 20 or 30 turns extra on the finishing policies.
Okay, so when I played by myself before having you tutor me, I actually did go. I was like, ooh, honor! I need the 33% combat bonus because there's a barbarian camp nearby that I'm going to go smash my face against, which was stupid apparently in hindsight. So I took honor, and then I took piety, and then I took tradition. It was like,
yeah, so you're setting yourself up for a painful game. And interestingly, that's the mentality that Civ 6 is encouraging, right? Because those social policy cards are able to be flipped around so often. It is, what is my immediate gain from this? And then I'll hit another civics tech, and then I can switch it over. What's my next immediate gain? So it's a very different system. It's one of the biggest changes in the game. It's one of the things I was most excited about when I first got the Civ 6. First we went out to New York and had that experience of playing Civ 6. I was like, this is so different and so cool, and I really want to play with it. So
yeah. Well, I have one more thing to say, but we'll do that at the very beginning of the next episode. So,
okay.
All right, let's wrap it up here. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks for watching, everyone. See you soon.
See you soon.